Hey everybody, welcome to Mental Fitness. It's the third time I'm having this show with my favorite Republican, Christopher Maichin. I'm also adding to the label most reliable 21-year-old I know. That is his other title. He's also Tim Peck's nephew, and I just love him so much. And so I feel very comfortable to ask him, what is he seeing? Here's what I'm seeing. We never get mad at each other. We both care about each other, so we can do this empathetically and then learn from each other. How do we talk to the other side? That's the main goal of this. Republicans and Democrats speak different languages, and we get very angry. We use these buzzwords that piss the other side off, and then dialogue stops. And now we're what? Government shutdown involved with this nationally, and this is the problem. We will not talk to one another. We just assume the other side are monsters. Here's a great Republican, clearly not a monster. Democrat, not monster. So let's do this. We're going to talk about Trump. What do you see, Christopher, about Trump? What do I see on my side? We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about me confronting bad Democrat policies in the city next to me. And then, was there anything else that I figured out?
Shutdown, and then we could also talk about the bipartisan bill for the banning of stock trading for members of Congress too.
Ooh, I love that. Let's get all of that in. Don't let me forget any of it. Thank you. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great. I'm happy to be back with you, Sarah. I always look forward to this every other Thursday. So great
Me
start.
too.
Well, middle start of my day. Great start to my afternoon.
Me too. I have to say, we've done 3 of these now. After every one, it's like I was in really good political therapy, and my
Same.
mental health has been improving since we started and every time. So I hope the people that listening feel the same, you
Yeah,
know.
I feel like the complete same way. I think doing this, like, just for the past 2 times, and now this being the 3rd week, has helped me just, like, talk to people differently too. And, like, I'm not going into conversations as much, like, with an argument ready to, or, like, to, like, go back at somebody knowing what I may assume their political beliefs to be. So I actually have been saying, though, like, what do you really believe? Like, let's talk about, what are your values? And really getting down to it. And then a lot of the conversations that I'm in having, whether it's Republican or Democrat, is people are willing to, once you kind of let your guard down and say, I'm not going to try to make this an attack on you, they start to critique their own side. And they're like, yeah, there are problems with my side. And then, like, I'll be like, yeah, there are problems with mine too. And, like, where can we work together for this to be better? And a lot of the problems is our leadership isn't embodying what we're saying on the ground, right? Like those things. So we're automatically drawn into those groups. But at the same time, just us having those conversations, having this conversation allows us to reform the way that we think. And then maybe down the road, it's going to take time. But if we see leaders who embody a lot of those values and the things that we're preaching right now, hopefully those are the people that we get elected.
And I'm seeing a shift, and I don't know whether you are too. I'm seeing more people trying to compromise. I'm seeing more peace from all political sides, and I don't know whether that's just because I am pushing that out myself, so the algorithm is showing it to me, but I kind of feel like the climate has shifted, and I want to give props to the Portland protests that or like whenever ICE came to Portland, and then the people came out wearing like frog costumes and stuff and being like super peaceful, and like the divisiveness was trying to happen. They're like, look how scary these people are, and then they show like a person in a unicorn blow up costume, and it just doesn't work. And I kind of see my side shifting to, let's model that, let's show peace. And so I had a Democrat meeting on Tuesday, Harrison County Dems. We had a record 41 people come, bunch of new people. We have a
Awesome.
No Kings protest coming up this Saturday in Corden. The people that lead that say completely different things than they did a few months ago. They were like, we don't want divisive signs. We don't want mean bullying comments. We want to be all about peace and love. And I'm like, this is not how these protests started.
Mhm.
So I see it happening in my own community. What about you? Are you seeing any of that?
Well, I think the great example for like that is like that on the Republican side, right, with the protests and everything, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing and a lot of people is the violence that did ensue. And it's the one like little situation of one bad actor or a few bad actors in a group that's torching a car and doing something, and it completely envelops what the goal of the movement is. I'm not saying that I completely
Well, I
agree.
mean, humans make mistakes on both
Exactly,
sides and are
exactly.
violent.
But in, politics, perception is reality. So you show one clip of somebody torching a car at a protest, and then in other people's minds, that's going to be what the protest is all about.
That's where my side has caught on. So my side has said that. They'll say, if any one of us loses our cool, if somebody says something mean to us and we lose our if we have a temper and
Composure.
act out in
Yeah,
anger, that will be promoted everywhere. And
exactly.
so I feel like my side is catching on to that better, but I don't see what you see. I've never seen these protests that we call peaceful protests have anything other than peacefully doing stuff. So that's interesting that you see.
Exactly, and it's also what we consume too, because it's not like the violence isn't happening there. I'm not saying every single protester is, or it's the majority of them, but it's just like with BLM, right? And everything that happened as a result of that. A lot of people on the Democratic side was saying this is a peaceful protest, right? And there was a lot
I
of
saw
violence.
this is when I got full to the left, so far to the left, way
Oh,
too
I remember
extreme.
you talking about this.
I saw, and I was even doing this, I was defending violent actions, which now I am horrified by. And I've
Mhm.
forgiven myself for realizing the social media news manipulated me and got to me. But I was full on being like, but we have to because we have to change and and then it's like, whoa, I can't believe I got there. I'm not anymore.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think one of the craziest things, and like I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day, is that like the most neutralizing and crippling thing for a politician to do, or just anybody to do in society, especially now, is to apologize. Is to say that they are wrong, because if you continue to go down and beat the dead horse and like try to defend that what you were saying, even though you know it was wrong, and then you get the constant attacks, and then you say, you know what, I was wrong. I was given new information. I have a different view on the way that this should happen now. People can't be like, well, you thought this before. Well, no, I just said I don't believe that anymore,
I
right?
know.
Like,
If
well, and I'm like,
we
why
all
don't
as
more politicians do this?
This is,
It's
I think, in
humanizing.
my opinion, one of the worst things our politicians do is they don't apologize when they mess up. And a lot of
Mhm.
times they mess up because the way we write bills and get bills turned into law sucks. And there's not enough time to read what's in the bill. So bad things get in it. Also, it's written with loopholes that only like the people that wrote them that are pushing
No,
the
what?
money, the bad
Who's
money
going to
people are pushing the
exactly?
loopholes in there and you don't know about it and you believe what those people are saying.
Yep.
They're like, um, they're saying this bill is going to help people. So then you believe them. And then whoops, there's a loophole in there to make rich people richer and to hurt the poorest people. What a shock. And
And
then
and
the
that
politicians don't say, I messed up.
and that's my big problem too, with just like omnibus bills in general, is that there are so many different issues getting compiled into one thing, right? Like the big beautiful bill was healthcare reform and immigration reform and tax cuts, and like those are very different things, but they're all jumbled up together. So then
And
as a
no, there's no
politician,
possible way the politicians can read it and understand it.
exactly. There's no possible way the politicians can read it. And also, when you're voting on a measure like this, you have to say, okay, I don't like some of the things, but like, do I like most of them? Yeah, I want the tax cuts in there. But maybe I don't want as much of the Medicare cuts. So you really have to kind of pick and choose on
I
what
wish we
issues
would
you're
pass
going to
like
promote.
small things. I wish we would pass very small,
So
one
single
to
issue
10
bills. That's
pages,
what
one
single issue.
issue, and how is it going to help people? And let's examine just that issue because then our elected officials would have time to dissect that small thing. I know why we don't. I understand the dark money. I understand the lobbying. I understand packing the bad things in a giant thing people can't pay attention to and say, here's one good thing in this giant bill, even though
Yep.
there's 10 bad things with it. I get why it happens. I just don't understand why we can't work together to change it because my guess is both Republicans and Democrats uh, all across the country would agree to what we're saying right now.
Exactly. And I think the problem is, especially with the two-party system, is because politics is so back and forth right now. Like usually every midterms, the House and the Senate, or at least one of them, like switches power. So the the president doesn't have all both chambers of Congress. When Where was I going with that? When we with the two-party system and doing that, we, like I said, jumble everything together, but also it doesn't, with a single issue vote, it would allow people in individual districts to know what they're getting more, right? So if I am from rural Georgia, right, and it's a bill on tax cuts, right? And these middle class people want tax cuts, and that's what you promote, and that's all you have to promote, because there isn't immigration on top of that, and there isn't healthcare on top of that. And then maybe next week we go into a healthcare bill, and then your people in your district see if they like what's in that, and then you vote on that. But and here's the point that I was making before, is because we switch between power so much, the people in power right now want to get everything they want through, right? That was the big thing with the big beautiful bill, the one big beautiful bill, right? It's the one thing of everything that Trump wanted to get done was in that one bill, right? Because politically thinking, you have to say, all right, 2 years, we may not have the House or the Senate. So we have to get everything through before Democrats try to stonewall everything that Trump ran on, right? So there isn't going to be this constant collaboration, because each side is trying to rail against the other and undo what the other one did. And it's just this constant revolving door of things starting to happen and then getting repealed, and then things get even worse because they aren't followed through on.
Yeah, there's been new studies that have come out lately where they do, like they did one in Indiana where it said, do you like the Republicans? And they're like, no. Do you like the Democrats? No. And that's pretty much nationally. Most people don't like both sides.
Well,
And
mhm.
because I'm friends with you, and because I'm reaching out to more local Republicans and seeing that they're wonderful humans trying their best, I'm really coming out of the division, and I am grossed out by it. And I'm starting to get more grossed out about it by my own side, the Indiana
Mhm.
Democrat side. And I'm wondering if you also feel that on your side. So, like, we have an Indianapolis mayor that's terrible. And our party does nothing to hold him accountable. And there's also been, like, I think his main person that works under him has got several sexual assault allegations. And there's just been, like, he just did something terrible with our energy bills, which people are very upset about. And then, and so, but what do I see on Indiana Democrat Facebook? Just constant slams of the terrible Republicans. It's like, well, what about our own Democratic mayor? It's Hogseth, that's his name, which I didn't know anything about until I became friends with people that are big in Indianapolis, since I live in Southern Indiana. And
Mhm.
I have my own story, Christopher. This is crazy because you don't know this is going on. The New Albany. I don't know if you know where New Albany is, but
Oh yeah,
uh,
I remember I was down there for a summer.
yeah, so New Albany, the New Albany City Council recently, actually, I think they're going to do this today, or it's already been done, but there's a council meeting today. It's confusing. Sorry. They passed a budget for 2026 without the numbers of how much money the Democrat mayor Jeff Gahan has spent on these lawsuits for this terrible Providence Mill Dam problem. This dam is too old, it's not safe. There's a nonprofit that was willing to remove the dam, no cost to taxpayers, and the mayor just pretty much ignored it and didn't seek the proper permits to get that done. A year ago, I remember the day it happened, a 14-year-old boy drowned and died in that dam. I
Terrible.
remember crying because that was the age of my boy. And I can think about, my kid had just recently almost died falling out of a tree. He, instead of falling, a branch snapped under him. He grabbed the tree trunk and slid down the trunk, and it's the biggest injuries he's ever had
Oh my
in his
God.
life. And he came home bleeding, saying he fell from a tree. And so it was the same time as that. And I'm just like, my 14-year-old makes mistakes. Sometimes he's 14, his brain is still developing. I can totally understand a 14-year-old thinking they could swim here, not understanding how dangerous this dam is that drowned him. And instead of fixing it, our Democrat mayor is putting on blinders and acting like he did nothing wrong. He cannot admit, whoops, I should have done it. I'm sorry. I'm going to fix it now. And there's all these lawsuits, and it's cost we don't know how much money of the taxpayer the taxpayer dollars, because he won't release the money. So I did a show about this. Guess what? I know the mayor. He knows me. I know Adam Dickey, the president of the city council. He gave me a statement, which I read. I disagree with him, and I don't like his approach, and I had to call it out. And I'm a Democrat running for state house, need his approval sort of to run for state house. So I did this on Tuesday, and it was one of the hardest shows I've ever done.
I'm sure. The hardest thing is to disagree with people in your own party always, because then you get alienated from the party itself. And like but then at the same time, if you don't differentiate yourself, then you're automatically grouped into
what am I going to do? Stay silent? This is clearly right versus wrong here.
Exactly. But a lot of times staying silent, somebody's going to be like, because you stayed silent, Sarah, then you agree with everything that Adam Dickey said and that mayor said, right? But then by saying something about it, then, oh God, then you're going against the party. Then you must be a Republican, a secret Republican.
Right.
No, that's not it. It's like you're a Democrat because you believe in the foundational democratic values. The same reason why I'm a Republican. And a lot of what our leaders are doing on both sides of the aisle aren't super emblematic of what the true foundations and values of both parties are. And especially on the local politics side, what frustrates me is that like local politicians, especially in big cities, New York City, Indianapolis, right? Like they try to create more of a national image, right? Or a national platform because they're the mayors of these major cities. But local government, the three things that you focus on local government is public safety, education, and infrastructure, right? Those are the three things that as a mayor of a city, as a mayor of a town, as a city councilor, those are the things that you're doing. Your state legislature is going to raise the taxes, is going to do all those stuff. You can collaborate with them on it. But at the end of the day, your job to your citizens in that city is public safety, education, and infrastructure. And obviously it was lacking on the public safety and the infrastructure part with that river. The over politicization of it didn't allow him to be like, no, you know what? You're right. We should have fixed that. It was my job as the mayor to go in and fix that because I'm in charge of public safety and infrastructure.
And every person that is aware of this situation, regardless of whether you're Republican, Democrat, or vote at all, we all need to be aware, and we need to push the mayor to be better. And some Democrats are. My friend Louise Gohman is on the city council, and she voted no, and she gave me a beautiful statement that I read on the show. And it's a bipartisan. The majority of people want this situation handled, but the council gave up the power because they passed this budget without insisting on the numbers that they haven't even seen. The council doesn't even know how much money the city has lost in these lawsuits. And you know what? There's a homeless problem in New Albany. There's an addiction problem. The cops need more assistance and
exactly that. Those are the issues that you need to handle.
And it's like if we can't properly fund those when and we would like to know where is the money that's going towards these lawsuits coming from, which parts of the budget. So I hope that New Albany, I hope that the government does the right thing. I asked for a comment from them and they didn't respond to me. They're on my side. I'm even like, no, the mayor.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I just hope they do the right thing. We're going to do a follow-up show. And when things change, and we're going to say, are they stepping up? And I'll give credit. If they finally do the right thing, I will be applauding them. This is not a vendetta. There's no revenge. It's just do the right thing. Take this dam down.
Exactly.
And when we keep not acknowledging that our side makes mistakes, we make more mistakes.
Yep. And, I think the perfect example of the way a mayor should act and the things that they should do is Treva Hodges in Charlestown.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say her too.
Because when I met her, I was like, I don't care if this woman's Democrat or Republican. She's awesome.
Amazing.
She's amazing. But like, she cares about her people. That everybody knows her. And like being a Democrat in that deep of a Republican area and winning.
She's won a re-election.
Exactly.
This is her second term.
Exactly. And winning re-election by even greater margins the second time. Like, that is what we should be doing. It's not about Democrat, Republicans. It's about, she was great for Charlestown, so we're going to continue to support her because she supports the police. She supports business and innovation. She supports building infrastructure. That is what a mayor is supposed to do. It's not political on either side or ideological. It's, I want to make your life better so you can live your life the way you want to, but I'm going to give you the institutions and the structures to allow you to do that freely and safely.
You guys follow Treva Hodges on TikTok.
Yeah.
She does weekly, at least weekly, like live things on her social media where she talks and she answers all the questions of the people of Charlestown. She also openly says, people say, you know, how do you feel about helping people that voted against her? She's like, I don't care. It is my responsibility to care about the whole town.
Exactly.
I acknowledge she's a little rare. There aren't
Very, but she's
Treva
very
Hodges
rare
in the world, but
Mhm.
we need more of them. And when we find them, we need to help encourage them to run for something. Yeah, she's amazing. And I wish the New Albany, everybody involved in New Albany would look at this mayor as an example of what we should strive for.
Exactly. And I think, you know, she's a great like lead by example person because she's not trying to shove it down everybody being like,
Nope.
I'm trying to be bipartisan, everything. It's just, I'm going to do and look at what I do and how great it is. Right.
That's right. She's not preaching.
I'm ignoring the
she's
noise.
doing.
Exactly. I'm not preaching about what the most ideal thing is. Like, let's go into reality right now. Let's focus on the realistic things that we can handle for this.
I'm glad you said that. That's a huge problem with people on the left.
We
are very much too perfectionists, and if you are not exactly like this super far to the left progressive ideal, then I can't work with you. And it's like, well, then that ideal is never going to happen, because the way that happens is by compromise and working with the other side and actually getting things passed. And it's very frustrating. I get called centrist all the time.
Good. Yeah, I love being a centrist. Exactly.
But the thing is,
that shouldn't be a bad thing.
I'm not really. I'm actually pretty progressive, but I'm willing to get there by talking to anybody and by pushing any type of legislation that will help human beings. And so I get kind of annoyed with the labels. I'm not labeling myself. I'm Sarah Blessing. I'm still learning. My opinions are going to change as I get more information. But I just don't understand. I think the labels really hurt our party. Like I commented on some Facebook post today that was calling out those terrible Democrats that are centrists. It's like,
exactly. And like that's kind of what we were talking about last time, is like, once you give that person a label, right, then you feel like you have the moral superiority to not engage with them. And just because I labeled you that, then therefore you are less than me, or your opinions are less than me. So therefore we don't even have to engage, and I'm just going to scream
so
on my social media page.
Because our side likes to act like we love all.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, and except for somebody that thinks slightly differently than you, you know? And so, okay, let's talk about Trump for a minute. I'm curious. I kind of avoided talking about Trump with you until I felt this comfortable. Like, I feel very comfortable talking with you now. So I want to talk about, what do you see about Trump? Because we see the worst stuff. And I'm not saying it's not correct, but we don't see anything good. We only see him being dictatorship, authoritarian, also stupid, and like mentally unstable. So we're seeing pretty terrifying stuff. I remember before the election, him making some comment where he said, like, women, vote for me this time. You don't ever have to vote again. It's like, wait, what do you mean by that? We don't get the right to vote, or we'll just take care, like, he'll protect us, I guess is what he was trying to say. And we kind of took it as, you're going to take away our right to vote. I don't think that's what he meant, but still stupid comment.
But that's the narrative that's then going to be pushed, right?
So I'm just curious, what are you seeing? What things about Trump, like in the last 2 weeks, have you seen?
Well, in the last 2 weeks, I've seen nothing but praise for President Trump because of the ceasefire deal. And I think he deserves an immense amount of credit for what he did with
What Israel. Is this? Can you tell me? Because I haven't seen this story. So what happened?
So, well, Israel and Hamas came to a ceasefire deal. Hamas released all 20 living hostages from their captivity to Israel. Israel retreated to this yellow line in the Gaza Strip, so all of their military had to pull back. And right now we're still waiting for the deceased bodies to be returned, who were the hostages. But Hamas has only released about 4 of them, and they released a couple that were not Israeli bodies. So it's still in the works.
Do we know why this happened? Was there some type of deal that our country gave to
yes,
them?
well, so what happened is Trump was the mediator for the whole thing. So it was Trump with the Qataris, the Egyptians, Israelis, and like Hamas to negotiate how like for the hostages to come home. I mean, Israel, and we could talk about Israel Palestine, and that would be a whole completely different
I don't feel like I'm expert enough to talk about it, honestly.
Exactly, but Israel, like their reasoning for their continued presence in Palestine was because of the hostages, right? So they said, once you release the hostages, right, then we will retreat, and like we'll say, okay, like this is the first thing to do before we can get a Palestinian state. But right now, what's happening is, okay, so the Israelis are leaving, but Hamas just lined up Palestinian dissenters and shot him, execution style in Palestine, right? So there's still terrible things going on in Palestine because Hamas still has control there. So part of the peace plan, there's like 14 there's a lot of points to the peace plan. I forget the specific number, but eventually it's the recognition of a Palestinian state. But the start is disarming Hamas and having them give up control of the government, because Hamas runs the Palestinian government. So right now, though, is Israel's out, right? They're no longer bombing. They're no longer sending in troops there into Palestine. So we're going to see now if Hamas stays with the terms of the deal, right? And then peace results from it. But right now, it looks like the assault.
It's the start of something good. It's the start of
something amazing. Like, and Hillary Clinton even praised President Trump for it. Like, this is
props to Hillary for doing that.
Exactly, but this is a historic and monumental thing that has happened. I heard a little bit
about it, but I mostly heard about it and how gross it is that Trump is being praised for it. That's how
but he deserves all of the praise for it. He is the reason that this happened.
And if you are a Democrat and you know more than I do, feel free to comment or put a news story on there, because I just don't know enough about it. But I'm just going to go on the side of let's have peace and let's stop killing each other. So
exactly.
It sounds like this is a step in that direction.
And that is a big thing. And a lot of people said, like, Hillary Clinton in 2016 said Donald Trump is going to bring us to war, right? Donald Trump has solved 8 wars in 9 months of his presidency already, all right, across the world. Like,
See, we're not getting that story, and I don't know how true it is, honestly.
No, it is. Go look up at Rwanda, India, Israel, Hamas, like all of these places that we don't even hear about, that there's conflicts going on, because everybody's just focused on, Israel, Palestine, but there's so much more violence going around across the world. Donald Trump has had his hand in a lot of that to be able to solve it. And in my opinion, I think that come 2028, if they're able to get a ceasefire and a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, Marco Rubio is going to be the front runner in 2028, because he's going to be like, I was the Secretary of State.
Interesting. It's just so interesting to hear this from your side.
Solved Russia, Ukraine. Like, he will have more of a rap sheet not a rap sheet, but more of a resume to go off of than as Secretary of State that Hillary Clinton did.
So my husband's on break from work, and he was listening, and he was like getting upset, and he gave me a Post-it note. So I knew a little bit about the other side. So here is what the other side is saying. Thank you to my husband. He said he kissed Netanyahu's butt, Trump did, and it was a bad deal for the Palestinians, and that he used threats. So that's the other side.
Well, if you read a lot of the things, like, Trump was very stern with Netanyahu. He was like, there was a phone call that they had, and the reports came out that he cursed him out on it. And he said, you need to be effing grateful, like, for the deal that I'm getting you right now, because he was mediating between the two sides. Israel had to release 2,000 Palestinian prisoners in order for this exchange to happen. So there was compromise on both sides. Trump forced Netanyahu to compromise. Yes, we are staunch Israel supporters, and I will stand by Israel all the time, but it doesn't mean that I don't disagree with everything that Netanyahu does, right? That's the thing, is that just because I support America doesn't mean that I support everything Donald Trump does. It's the same thing with Israel. I support Israel's right to exist.
We've really messed that up across the world, where we associate this Netanyahu, and who seems like a dictator and a really terrible person, with the country, and it's not the country, it's this bad person that shouldn't be in power. Um, and so it's a gray issue. It's not black and white. And I just don't like the this side or this side. I think it should be a humanitarian side. Stop the killing, save the people that are starving or dying and can't get to a hospital, protect the people. That's my stance. Stop it. Stop the killing.
Yeah.
Um,
But I also
I
think that people need to
understand
give credit where
what
credit's due.
right. So that does make me feel hopeful. I just imagine the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like, I imagine what you're seeing about him being this incredible negotiator. I don't really
Well,
think
but
he's
that's on
really a
both
great
sides. But that's
negotiator.
on both sides. It's not
Right.
if somebody's telling me and I'm saying, oh, he's an incredible negotiator because somebody on Fox News said that. It's looking at the evidence and how many times he went to Marco Rubio went to Qatar to negotiate when they went to Egypt. Like they have worked with all these Arab states to ensure peace in Israel and peace throughout the entire region in general. So, like they have, after he went to Israel the other day after the ceasefire to meet with the hostages that were freed, he went to Egypt and they had signs up all in Egypt of Trump as the peacemaker. It is means peace for the entire Arab world. I don't agree with a lot of Islam and the culture, Arab culture and Sharia law and things like that, and I will advocate against that. But once again, we as a country, we know that when we try to go into an area and democratize it, we make
We
it worse.
usually make it worse. Yeah, we make it
Exactly.
worse. Yeah.
So right now it's like, okay, we want peace. You live the way that you want to live in your country, right? But like we want to make sure there's no wars going on and that everybody can live in harmony around the area, even though you have very, very different religious opinions on even if a
And it's
person
such a complicated thing because how much is it America's responsibility is a real thing. Like, we do need to acknowledge a lot of times we go in there and make things worse.
Well,
But
and
then
this is why, but this is the
sometimes
first
we could
time
go
that
in
we've
time and make things better. Like
and
it's
but
also
and this is the one of the times that we're truly doing it through diplomatic means. We never sent American troops into Israel to fight Hamas, right? Like we did help fund Israel and help defend them, yes, 100%, but we never sent troops in or anything like that, right?
I think that's a big problem on our side because we're funding something that's killing innocent people. So I can
But once again,
understand my
war,
side's problem with that, with the
but we're
money.
funding. But here's my thing: is like you have to understand, like war is messy in general. Like people die in war, like. And it wasn't a genocide. A genocide is targeted ethnic cleansing of people, right? It wasn't a targeted ethnic
For some
cleansing
reason,
of
my side is really big
Palestinian
about
people.
saying that word. It's like if you don't
Exactly.
say
It's
that
a
word,
buzzword. It's a
you're
buzzword.
out. You're out in our party. And I'm like, why
But
are we
and here's
focusing
my
on
thing is
that?
that people aren't saying that what Russia's doing to Ukraine is a genocide, and it's almost the exact same thing. And we are supporting Ukraine with weapons that are killing Russian soldiers too, right? War is messy. People die in war. I want to prevent the loss of life as much as we
Oh
can on the
man, you know what would be a
Palestinian.
good show is if I got you on with Brian Zimmerman, Special Forces veteran who's been to over 20 countries, the countries you don't want to
That
go
would be
to because
awesome.
they're not safe. And he gets really disgusted by how upset my side is. Like he'll say to me, "Do you know how lucky you are to have the women's health care in Indiana that you have?" And I'm just like, "Well, we don't have like women are dying because we can't get proper
In other
medical
places
care."
around the world, you wouldn't even be able to walk
But he's
outside without
saying
your husband.
most women in the world don't have what you have in Indiana. And it's like, well, that's a viewpoint I need to hear. It doesn't mean I shouldn't stop fighting for my daughter to have appropriate health care. But it also means I shouldn't be panicked and crying every day over it. And I should be also thankful for the freedoms that I have living in America and being an American citizen. So, yeah, it's helped me being friends with Brian, reading a big in-depth book about what special forces do really helps me feel thankful for living in America.
Yeah, well, and like Meryl Streep said this a couple years ago at the UN. A female cat in Afghanistan has more rights than a female human being. A female cat can go outside and bathe their face in the sun. They can walk through the park by themselves. They can go out of the house without their husband's permission. That is what a lot of these Arab countries are all about. And I disagree with it, and but once again, I don't think our job as America is to go in there and say we're going to completely westernize you, because creates even more problems and hate
I do
against
think
America.
I do think we could do it in a healthy way where we're saying, we will work with you, your government, on this thing if you in lessen one thing. Women can vote, or maybe they could drive, or oh, they can go to college
But then
without a
that's the
man's
problem
permission. Like if
is
we could just a little at a time chip away at the terrible sexist laws in other countries that are hurting women so much.
but a
Just
problem
have
with a
them go to
lot of that
school.
is it's a lot of law is rooted in religion.
Right.
and 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 religion, especially when a country is based on religion, right? Like even like with people who are saying that our country is like defined by Judeo-Christian values, like it's hard to argue against religion. Like it's hard to argue against God. Like all their argument all is like God says this, so therefore it's true.
That's why I really want the separation of church and state in every
Exactly. But in these
government.
countries, they're Muslim countries. Like they follow, a lot of them follow Sharia law, right? Like, and in Palestine, like people aren't saying like I see queers for Palestine. That's chickens for KFC. Do you know what they do to the people who are gay in Palestine? They throw them off of buildings, right? So like, what are we really fighting for now? And now that we have the ceasefire, and Hamas just lined people up and killed them public execution style, I don't see anybody who is the pro-Palestine people saying that this is wrong.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good.
So
Okay,
why can't we call it out, even when we still supported that thing, right? We supported it. We could say, yes, I love the ceasefire, but what's going on in Palestine that the Hamas is doing to Palestinians is wrong.
right.
We can say that while still saying the ceasefire is a good thing.
Clearly, the people in charge, those that have political offices, need to be talking with the other side, because if they're not having this conversation, like I didn't really know a lot about what's going on. You know why? Because it looks favorable to Trump. So my side, I'm not seeing it. I also don't follow this story a ton because it makes me really sad and it hurts my mental health to think of all these people dying in this war. So we need to talk and figure out the truth and not the propaganda. And
Yep.
now I want to talk about a story we talked about before, and I want to find out your side. I want to talk about immigration. Um, we have a lot of scary stuff going on in Indiana. The sheriff,
I'm
Steve
listening to
Bush,
you. I just have to close my window.
the Republican sheriff Steve Bush of Floyd County, he just did a video where he said he's going up to Indy and having this meeting and about immigration and ICE and how they can all work together. And the meeting was private. Well, I guess there could have been Democrats if they're Democrat sheriffs. Oh no, I lost you, Chris.
No, I'm back.
Oh
We're
no.
back.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
I don't know what's going on with it. So they're going to be working with the police more now, is what I'm assuming. I'm if I have time, I want to reach out to Steve Bush and ask him if he could tell us how is our county police in Floyd County and the other counties, how are they going to be actively assisting with ICE? Because that's what it looks like just happened. Like this week, this happened. So we're still waiting to find out. At the same hand, there are local stories. Ethan Sweetland May, who I would like to get on the show again soon, he's running for state house. He has two stories now of people he knows that look, they're Hispanic, they're Mexican descent, they're American citizens each time getting detained. One of them was detained and put in some type of detention center, I believe, for 8 days and came out pretty traumatized. And then he said, and you know what? This person was a Republican. Do you think they're going to vote Republican in this next election? And I'm wondering, what is your side seeing about immigration? Because I am seeing real stories of real people getting hurt by ICE.
Yeah. Well, like I think this goes back to what we were talking about with the protests, even BLM. Like you can take out little situations and make an even greater narrative
But
out
I'm
of them.
telling you,
But
it's
what
not
I'm not
little,
saying,
because it's
but
not little.
what I'm saying is like the majority still is criminals that are being detained, and I'm not saying that
I
they.
thought you used the number 50%.
It's a little over 50, so there is still is.
That's still not a very. That's
It's
a
not. I'm
lot
not
of people
saying
to
it's.
get
I'm not
wrong,
saying,
and they're
and I'm
not
not
like.
saying that I agree with it in any way. But I'm saying the
Christopher, they're
American
not.
citizens that are being detained isn't as great as it's being put out to. And I'm not saying that they should be in any
See,
way,
I
shape,
don't.
or
I
form.
don't think that's true. I think it's pretty high numbers because it's happening here in my community. It's not like one protester was violent in one city and it's being pumped across nationally. It's a bunch of stories. It's a lot of stories. So I disagree with you. I want to push back on that. I don't think the numbers are as small as you're saying. It seems to me like it's a bigger problem. And I just want to point out in America, normally you have due process. Normally you get your rights read to you. The cops can't look in your car, cops can't search stuff, cops can't open your phone up with your face. And like we have all these stories of ICE going above what is legal.
Okay, wait. So I just got a fact for you. So
Sure.
after the first 100 days of President Trump's term, ICE made 41,318 arrests. Of those, it was 170 U.S. citizens. So that is a small percentage.
But I don't think they're arresting the people. So I think that they're
But
taking
that's
them. They're
detained. That's
not
detaining them.
looking and seeing if they have a driver's license. Like they're real scary to them.
Yeah.
And then people are crying and they don't know how to react and they don't get their name and they don't look for proper documentation. They throw them in a detention center for days or a week and a half. And then you get these people back and they're traumatized because they were treated like terrorists when they're just American citizens, but they were never arrested. See what I'm saying
I
here?
know. I understand that wholeheartedly and completely. And I think that is something like I don't even know like the answer to right now. Like I agree with the going after the criminals and everything like that. Like that is should be the main priority of this administration and of ICE right now. But also you have to look at the problem that you were handed from the previous administration and from Joe Biden's open border crisis, because millions of people came in unvetted to this country. So we have no idea who they are, what they are, anything. And our immigration system, even before them, was already so backed up and people had to wait years for their
Right. I
point.
agree that there needs to be
And
bipartisan
now,
effort.
because of this massive influx, we have even more people that are overriding our system. So it's going to take even more time and more years for them to be able to get their actual court dates and for that to
But
be.
I guess there's a couple points I want to point out. Immigrants, for the most part, are not committing horrific violent crimes. Usually, they're more peaceful than, say, a American male.
But here's my thing about that. That stat says immigrants. It doesn't say illegal immigrants. And I'm not saying that all illegal immigrants are criminals either. And I think a majority of them want to have a good life and do things like that. But that stat is immigrants. And it's so.
I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, I would rather we spent time and energy on like tracking violent criminals, stopping gangs, stopping the incredible drug problem that we have sweeping the nation. It's really bad in Harrison County. I would rather, and we're spending so much money on this. We're spending so much money, and I would rather the money go towards the actual real criminals. I feel like we are making this a divisive issue, and the Republicans are painting a picture of people with brown skin being scary, and I think that's wrong.
I don't think that's not the picture that I see being painted. I see that happening in these little instances and the 141 people out of the 41,000. But at the same time, like that isn't what the narrative is on our side. And even
that's so interesting. That's definitely the narrative on our side.
But the narrative isn't completely true on our side, because a lot of the times we are still seeing that they're going after the criminals, right? We're not seeing those little instances that you're talking about, which are real and which need to be talked about because they're a problem. And
because we won't admit that there's a problem.
Exactly.
The Republicans won't admit that what they're doing is wrong.
Exactly, but because aspects of it is right, and it's just like about like when you have multiple things.
But what about when Biden was president? We had support for an immigration bill that was going to make things better, and then Trump publicly said, "Don't sign it," and stopped it. What do you think about that?
But both Biden bringing the issue to the table and Trump stonewalling it was both a political maneuver, because Biden had 3 years of this crisis to be able to do something, and he waited for it until he was ready to go up for re-election. So that was political in
But
itself.
still, if we would have passed it, you're saying he didn't do enough on immigration, but he was trying.
But he wasn't trying for the majority of his term. He only
But
did
he
that in
still
his last year of
tried.
his term.
He still
Exactly.
tried.
He still
And it could
tried.
have passed
And
if Trump wouldn't have
I
gotten
agree
involved.
with that bill too, but it wouldn't have solved every single problem. It was a great
Right.
first step.
Nothing is going to solve all of immigration problems. Bit
No,
by bit, little bill by little bill is going to do it. This is a political stunt, in my opinion, to make it appear like Trump is handling this immigration problem. And in fact, he's terrorizing many people that are American citizens. So I honestly think the immigration issue is going to backfire on the Republicans because
I think it already
because a
has.
lot of us have
It
family and
already has
friends that
because
look
it's already starting to
Mexican.
fracture the party. Because I'm not in full support of what ICE is doing, right? But and then that is once again the
I
problem of
I just
when
wish more Republicans were coming out on a humanitarian I can't say it, on a human
humanitarian.
side and saying this is wrong. We should treat human beings better. I'm not seeing enough Republicans take a stand, and I think if one did, or they got a little group of like 5 so they'd be safe, if groups of them started coming out, I think we could work together to come up with something better. But I don't see it on your side. I see quiet submitting to we're going to do what Trump wants.
But then on the flip side, you see everything that's wrong with what this operation is, including going after criminals too. So they're grouping in that they're targeting people, which, and while half of these people are criminals still, right? They are still going to target criminals. They're not just
So
going.
you're saying they're criminals because they're there illegal, but they're
No,
not
no, no. I'm
actually.
saying I'm talking about the criminals like that we should be going after, and that's what's being
So
advertised
do
on
you
our side.
think, do Republicans think, and do you think someone that's here and doesn't have the proper paperwork, or maybe it expired and they're still here, those people should be arrested? Or do you think they should, if they're not violent, they're contributing to society, they're paying taxes, if they're decent people, do you think that they should go through a process to get to be here legally?
Yes, 100%. But that is, like I said in the last time, like what I don't think is going to happen, which I think Trump has the opportunity to do, is the first time in the 21st century to pass comprehensive immigration reform. So people who are here illegal in this country, who are contributing to us, should have a pathway to citizenship, right? Like that is where I'm like,
See,
no,
See, I mean, I
way
really
if
think
you're
you and I
contributing.
pretty much agree on most things with immigration. I think if people like us were in office right now, compromising and talking, I do think immigration reform could pass that would help people. But that's clearly not happened. You're willing to admit your side is doing some things
Oh, 100%.
inappropriately.
I am very willing to admit, like, but
Yeah.
like the goal, what he ran on arresting, on detaining criminals, is what I agree with,
The
right?
point I want to make, though, that's so fascinating and why I wanted to talk about Trump with you is your side is seeing how great a job Trump is doing. My side thinks, and I've heard this spoken probably several hundred times since Trump has been president the second term, people that voted for Trump are going to hurt, and they're going to realize it's Trump, and then they're going to vote Democrat. And what I want to point out is I don't think that reality is happening.
Mm-mm.
I don't think people that voted for Trump are sitting at home being really upset with themselves for voting for Trump, because I think they're still seeing very favorable stuff.
And my problem is that, like, I don't love Donald Trump, but we weren't given a good alternative. We weren't given a moderate
You
alternative.
openly tried to get Nikki Haley elected. You
Exactly.
worked
I
on her
openly, but I'm
campaign.
saying even on the Democratic side, like I would have considered voting for a Josh Shapiro or a Pete Buttigieg or an Andy Bashir, right? Like, but so we got the extremes on both sides who I didn't agree with in any way, shape, or form. So I had to be, and I wrote in Nikki Haley, so I didn't even vote for Donald Trump. But because
But you did say, oh, I had a question for you. This is a hard question. I would
yeah,
only say it to you because I love you. Today, if you had all the knowledge of these 10 months of Trump in office and you had to pick between Kamala Harris and Trump, would you pick Trump?
I would still pick Trump. Yes.
See, that's interesting to me because what we're
I
seeing
I
is
don't
so
think Kamala
horrible.
Harris would have been able to accomplish what Trump has internationally.
It's interesting. Yeah, okay. And I just, again, we should take this at a curious rate instead of a get mad at people.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah. So that's fascinating. also, like somebody just said Trump voters won't switch. Well, I was at Harvest Homecoming on Friday in New Albany. That's like thousands of people coming. It's a festival. And I was just sitting in the booth, like promoting my Project Next episode that I just did. And people were coming into the booth and saying, I'm a registered Republican. I voted for Trump last time. I'm upset about what he's doing. I'm not going to vote for him anymore.
Yep.
So those people that say Trump voters won't switch, well, I had about 7 of them in 2 hours come up to me. And then Ethan said he was there on Saturday, Ethan Sweetland May. He said he had about 6 of them or something come up when they were there. So Trump people are switching.
And
his favorability rate is low.
Yes. And here's like also like my thing for that too, is that because Donald Trump got like even though he won the popular vote, he had the majority of Americans vote for him. It doesn't mean that every single person was MAGA that voted for him. It was that they saw that there was
so
not
the people that aren't necessarily big
side.
Trumpers, but they're Republicans, voted for Trump.
And this is the first time also that you have been able to compare two administrations and say, which one was I living better on, Trump's first term or under Kamala and Biden's term? And a lot of people were really feeling hurt from inflation, from stagflation, from just the economy in general, right? And when Kamala Harris didn't differentiate herself from Biden, they were like, this is what we're going to be stuck
right.
with.
I was disappointed about that.
My life was better 4 years ago under Donald Trump, personally and economically. So that's where I'm going to go here.
Well, here's my stance on that. We're both hurting. Republicans and Democrats are all hurting because we're not talking to each other.
Yep.
That's the real reason. It's not, let's just constantly blame the other side. And no, I blame both sides, Democrats and Republicans, because we're electing people that refuse to compromise and talk to the other side. Exactly. I have it happen all the time locally when I say, well, did you contact this representative? Did you contact this commissioner or this county council or this state? And they're like, no, because they're the other side than me. So they clearly are monsters. And it's like, well, you don't even know that. You can't just blindly judge based on their label. Exactly. And so let's just call it out right now. The problem is the division. The problem is the division. If we would have had a better alternative to the Trump and that person would have been elected, I don't think things would be as bad as they are now. And I agree with you on the Kamala Harris. It would have been nice if she would have been her own person and separated herself from Joe Biden. I know she had a tremendous amount of pressure and a tiny amount of time to prepare. So I understand why they did it. But it would have been good if they could have acknowledged Biden's mistakes, which is how we
I think it would have been good that once Biden dropped out, they at least had a mini primary at the convention so they could actually attempt.
Yeah, what a weird time we lived through.
Democratically, she was elevated to this position like she was the Messiah. Like there was no democratic election for her to be the nominee. Right? The American people didn't select her, and neither did the delegates at the convention select her.
Yeah, it was really weird. They didn't even have a delegates at the convention selector thing.
Well, because she was the only one. It's like there wasn't a battle. Like
there wasn't a choice.
Hillary and Bernie at the convention,
whereas I think if Kamala Harris were president right now, in my opinion, things would be much better. We wouldn't be having this scary ICE thing.
I think internationally we would be in a worse place though.
So that's interesting.
And that's my thing. I think my whole thing about Donald Trump's legacy is going to be he brought out about peace internationally, but stoked even more division domestically.
But the problem is, and I'm seeing it in Indianapolis and in New Albany, where we have Democrats control, our politicians will refuse to acknowledge their own mistakes and fix them. And so we see it in Republicans. I haven't ever heard Trump acknowledge a mistake. Have you? Does he say he's done something wrong?
I can't forget it. I mean, he says that everything he's done is the best thing since sliced bread.
I have heard Biden say he used to think things that he doesn't think anymore. I have heard him say that. I don't know how much he's admitting mistakes.
Used to think, though. That's the problem. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's openly admitting mistakes, but I have heard him say his thoughts on things, his views on things have changed, and I do at least appreciate that.
Exactly. But
let's just acknowledge that's the problem. They won't. Our elected officials act like they're perfect, and so they make one mistake 1,000 times worse because they won't admit it.
Or even but sometimes when a politician says like they've changed their viewpoint, it's not always because like they have actually changed, like seen it differently. It's because the party's telling them that they have to go this way.
That's where I'm so disgusted. I'm
Mhm.
disgusted by our trappings, our bindings. It's like we're wrapped up and we're put something over our mouth and we're said, "Oh, you can't say the truth. You have to say this Democrat line. You have to say the Republican line." And I want to elect people that are brave enough to say, "No, I'm going to do what's best for the people."
Yeah, it feels like a two-party dictatorship, right? It's not a
It
democracy.
really does. Like in Indianapolis, we have a really bad mayor. We have a city council that's very scared to go against him. And we have my favorite city councilor, Jesse Brown, being brave. And he's going to come on the show next week. I'm really looking forward to it and explain how do we tackle the bullies, including the bullies in our own party. And we have got to do this more.
Yep.
I want to see Republicans
Call them out.
saying this Republican is not acting in the best interest of the people. This Democrat is not acting in the best interest of the people. Shine a light on them. Take the tape off of our mouths. I kind of feel like, Christopher, that if I hadn't gotten with your uncle Tim Peck and made this network, and if I hadn't ran for state house and gotten really good at public speaking and done a lot with social media, I feel like the Democratic Party in Indiana would have tried to put cuffs on me and prevented. I really feel it.
Yeah.
I feel their fear of me, and I just want them to do the right thing, what's best for the people. And I'm so frustrated, and I see it in the thousands of people I work with in Indiana. They're gatekeeps, they're stopped by
Yeah.
these people that want to not admit our own mistakes. And
Mhm.
it's so frustrating. Do you see that on your side?
Yeah, and a perfect example of it is that there was like this, I forget where they're from, but these like young Republican leaders, a group chat got leaked, and it was all of this awful stuff of terrible things about
Oh,
women,
yes, I saw
about
that.
Nazi propaganda, putting people in gas chambers, and then like JD Vance was asked about it, and then like his answer was basically like boys will be boys. It's like no, like that's awful, and that's not the reason I'm a Republican, and I do not want to be grouped into people who spout and spew and say all of that stuff, right? So but right now it's like, oh, you're a Republican, so like you have to just continue to defend everybody in your party. It's no, I'm going to call that out because that is wrong
Yeah,
and
we all
awful.
should be calling that out. Yes, I've got a 17-year-old that's a Republican that sent me some beautiful thing about JD Vance. And I sent him the first 3 minutes of a podcast that explained that situation and that JD Vance said boys will be boys. And I'm like, I think our propaganda and our news sources are showing us different things about JD Vance. Let's just like, I don't think he's good or bad. Maybe he's complex. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I don't know enough about him.
but a lot of and like what JD Vance doesn't help our cause at all, but a lot of Democrat media outlets are trying to define the party based on this one group chat, right? Like these
And
are what Republicans
I
are.
get why we do it. I get that we see it. He is the vice president of the United States. He has been coming
100%.
to Indy a lot trying to help gerrymander our congressional races, which affects your uncle. I am understanding why, but it just makes the division worse
Exactly.
because
Just
we're
say,
just shining a light on the worst of both parties
call it out.
constantly.
Call it out. They and JD Vance being like, no, this is not the way that you should be speaking. That's it. Okay. Like you're in the party. This is not the reason that you should be a
It would
Republican.
have been wonderful if he would have said, all human beings are equal, you know, all human beings have value, and we should respect everybody regardless of any differences. That it would have been so easy. Just preach a sentence Martin Luther King would say. You know, it would have been so easy to do that. And I feel like his side is very much pumping out the extremism
Yeah.
of how great white people are and
I
white
don't know
men.
about
I mean,
whether
that's
it's
what
how
I see
great
on my
white
side.
people are, though. Like, I think that's where it gets into, like, we're not saying how great white people are, but the narrative oftentimes is like,
It looks
okay,
that way.
Republicans are the white, but like, it doesn't,
It
like,
looks
though,
that way, though. Yeah, so that's what my side is seeing.
like,
It looks
that's
so racist.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it is blatantly racist. I mean, of condoning a lot of those things in that group chat, is awful and
I mean,
should not.
just do the right thing and say that group
Exactly.
chat
Just
was
be a human
terrible.
being. Exactly. And admit when something is terrible.
But like when my Democratic Party in Indiana put out, like they did today, they showed some news story about terrible Republicans. I'm like, well, where's your news story about your mayor?
Mhm.
It just is
Exactly.
like, why would Republicans switch to the Democrat side when the Democrats won't admit their own mistakes? Greg Taylor, multiple sexual assault allegations, been written in stories. I had Jesse Brown was like harassed by him recently, and he'll tell his story on the show next week. This man that's a Democrat Senate in Indiana, Senate leader, used to be the minority leader, is a bully and needs to be stopped. And crickets from our side, and it makes me want to throw up. And it's very hard to continue to push how great Indiana Democrats are when we won't do the right thing here.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's very clear to me the problem, and it's what we said at the beginning. We need to admit our mistakes and fix them.
Yep.
The tribalism is destroying America.
Awful.
And if my side keeps shaming your side, it's only going to make your side go more extreme, don't you think?
Exactly, and the other it is the same thing with the other way around. If we don't actually engage and we just start continue to scream at each other through our screens without having a genuine conversation like this, like we're just going to force ourselves into the extremes without even knowing it. And one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be like, oh my God, I am so far right or I am so far left that I didn't even realize I got to this place.
Yeah. And I've talked about this before. Our groups, our nonprofit organizations, break up a lot and don't work because the most extreme people get in power. And the second somebody tries to help and they don't agree 100% with their views, they kick them out.
Yep.
So we're hurting democracy right now
It's not,
in
yeah, exactly.
organizations. Like our Indiana 5051 is a mess right now. And it was really strong. And so we have got to stop being extreme. We've got to allow people to have their own opinions and thoughts and talk it out without getting mad. We have to admit our own mistakes, elected officials, some of which I'm friends with. We have to admit our mistakes and say, I'm ready to fix it. And that
Yep.
is so much braver than your own ego bullying people to keep your dirty laundry private.
It's complete and you know what? A lot of these politicians don't realize is that it's when you admit your mistake, when you apologize, it's so humanizing to voters. It makes you a real person in their eyes. And it's like, wow, this is somebody that I could actually sit down and have a conversation with, and rather than listen to in a crowd of 20,000 people, right?
Right.
Like this is
But
the,
people, they just don't get it because they're in that environment of bullies. And so they
exactly,
become a bully.
and
They
they're in
don't
that
realize that they
environment.
become the bully too. They don't get it.
Exactly. In that environment of constant attacks that you have to constantly defend yourself every time. It's like it's almost like a trauma response in a way, is that if you're getting attacked so much, you're going to defend yourself, right? Rather than if there's an issue on the table and you come together and say, this is what I believe and this is what you believe. I'm not going to attack you because of what you believe, but let's see where we can come together to solve this. That's the way that it's supposed to happen.
I'm seeing more of that. I'm seeing Republicans and Democrats work together that have political power, like they're governors of their states, and they're coming together and they're saying, look, we disagree on this issue, but on this part of the issue, we agree on it. I'm seeing it. Remember when we talked, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, where we said, in the future, could you imagine me and you doing an episode where we talk about our moderate new president?
Mm-hmm.
And we
Can't
both
wait for
wanted,
that.
I wanted the Democrat one like Andy Bashir, and you wanted the Republican one like Nikki Haley. And I was like, well, I like Andy, but I'll take
Exactly,
Nikki.
and I was the same
And you
thing.
were
I like
like,
Nikki, but
I
I'll
like
take
Nikki, but I
Andy.
take Andy. I think about that when I'm stressed out because my side thinks we're doomed. My side thinks democracy is gone. They think authoritarian has won when clearly some of these checks and balances are working. We are going to get an election. I think in Indiana, especially, it will be harder to vote than it was last time. And last time it was already hard. So we need to get these people out. I bet you would agree with that, honestly. The people in charge. So let me
Yeah.
tell you
Oh,
about
in
Diego
Indiana right
Morales,
now.
our
Yeah,
Secretary of State, a little bit.
I don't love Micah Beckwith.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, yeah, he's
God,
scary. Our
he's
lieutenant
scary.
governor, you
He is
guys,
scary.
he's legit scary. Yeah. So I just like, I want to put that in people's heads. Let's imagine a future where someone that cares about human beings and wants to stop the hate, fear, the division, harming our country. We get somebody in that cares about everybody. Imagine that reality, because I think it is very, very possible. Don't
Yeah,
you?
I
I
do.
really think most people are sick of this and they want someone that is unifying.
Exactly, and I think a lot of the time, like, it's like people feel like they're torn between either law and order or, like, helping humans. And I'm like, no, we can do both. Like,
Let's put them
those are
together.
two things together. Like law and order, yes, like let's make sure that everybody is in line in society, but at the same time, treat people like they are human beings because they are.
Yeah.
And those are the people that elected you to this position, right? Like you did not tell them that I'm just going to be here and I'm going to rule you. They put you there. And even if they didn't vote to put you there, you still represent them.
Yeah. I think the thing I'm most surprised about having this hour conversation with you is I'm thinking people are waking up on your side and being like, Trump is really terrible. And you're like, oh, well, everybody's praising Trump because he's helping get peace in Israel and Palestine. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, we
But this
need to
is
just
also the
be
thing is
aware.
like but it's just because so much happens in politics. Last week before this thing, I probably wouldn't have been praising Donald Trump as much, right? And now this week after the
Interesting.
ceasefire happens, right? Obviously I'm going to, but every week there's something new and then we completely forget about what happened last week, right? Because there's just too much new information that we have to figure out if we like it or not.
Right. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to do a show at I think around 8:30 or 8:45 in the morning with Tim and a public health professor from IU, and we're going to talk about what public health is and why it's important. And I
Nice.
bet if you watch that episode, you would agree with what this professor is saying. He's basing it on science and facts, and just he's talking about the lack of funding. He's from IU Bloomington, and the
Oh,
lack of funding that's
and
happening
that's
in the state and the nation.
exactly, and that's one of the things I disagree with this administration about too. Is out of everything, no matter politics or not, if we want to continue to be on the forefront of innovation, especially within medicine, is we cannot be cutting funding for political reasons to these places.
Yeah. 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 So, yeah, I just want people to realize the majority of us want these things, but we're going to have to talk to each other to get them. And we really, I would say this is the most important. This is the summary of today's episode. Call out our own side when they're wrong. If
Yep.
we all collectively did that more, we would be better. So
Yes.
I'm going to have Jesse Brown on next week. I'm going to keep calling out the Dems that suck in my state. And I want you to keep calling out the Republicans that are bad in your area. And I want more people to do the same. And I think it's an old school belief because I've had people older than me text me and say, we keep our skeletons in the closet. I've had that texted to me before, and I'm like, oh no, we don't. This is 2025. We
Mhm.
shine a light on them and we fix them.
Exactly.
This isn't a be quiet because your relative sexually assaulted somebody in your family and that would cause harm to your family. We're not doing that anymore.
Nope.
We're protecting our children. We're protecting our future. So yeah, no more skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a great thing to end on is some hope of the congressional stock ban, the stock
Oh
trading ban.
yeah. I'm glad you brought
Um,
that up.
and I just
That's
think
AOC.
this
So
AOC
AOC and
and
who's the
Tim
Republican?
Burchett are the two big ones. So it's far left
So
Republican, far left Democrat, right?
like
Coming
I've heard the
together.
press conference and they were both saying, I agree
No, they're
very
like
little with this person.
exactly, but like even Tim Burchett was like, "Come up here, Cortez, like tell him something." It's like, and they were cordial, and it's like, oh my god, wait, like they are acting like they're friends. Yes, they work together. Like,
I just want to call that out because everybody says about AOC, she's so divisive. And so I'm really proud of her for
no,
doing
yeah,
this.
exactly. But this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we may have such different views, but this is something that we can come together on, and let's do
So
it.
just so people that don't know, they're coming together to try to get bipartisan bill passed that stops what's insider stock
So
trading.
so members of Congress are still allowed to trade stocks, but like, and it's not illegal. Like insider trading, if you work for an investment banking company, you're not allowed to trade stocks because you have insider
You have
information.
insider trading,
It's
insider
the same
info.
thing in Congress. If Congress is about to fund, right, a huge military project or like some industry there, then you see people track Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi does
Yes.
better than the S&P 500, the
Yeah.
Dow, and Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
Like
there's apps, guys, just so you know, if you're into
unusual whales,
trying to
unusual whales.
there's apps that you can go that will track Nancy Pelosi's stocks so that you can see where you want to put because she's making a ton of money. Yeah, that should be stopped. So I'm proud of
Exactly.
AOC. I
So I'm
wonder how Nancy Pelosi's gonna vote
oh,
on
well,
that.
who knows? Exactly. And that's one of the hardest things too, is that when the people in power are benefiting, right? And are the ones who have to repeal the law so they stop benefiting, why would you want to do that, right? Like it.
So I hope the bipartisanness of this is something that we the people feel very strongly about. We're tired of seeing rich people get richer and poor people get poorer on both sides. So I hope this passes. And if it doesn't, let's shine a giant light on who didn't pass it. Nancy Pelosi, I'm watching you. How are you going to vote on that? I
Oh, I
bet you
think
got
she's
enough.
voting no. She's definitely
She's
voting no.
got enough money.
But she's, yeah, and she continues to make it because of this.
It's just like Democrats on my side should call that out.
Yes. Well, I
And at
hope
the
we do a
same
show.
hand, she's
Yeah,
a
I
good
hope we do a
negotiator
show.
or whatever.
I
She
hope
does
we do a
good or
show
whatever.
after we vote on it, and then if Nancy Pelosi votes yes, then you can call me out, and I'll say that I was wrong, and
Oh,
I'll
can you
admit that I
please let
was
me know
wrong.
when this
I
happens if
will.
I miss it? Yeah,
Yes,
let's
I
talk
will.
about this.
But that's the thing. I will apologize and say, "Wow, I was wrong about Nancy Pelosi. She actually voted to do it, even though I don't think that's going to happen. I will admit that if the time
I'm
comes."
on the side of can we pressure her enough so she does the right thing?
Yeah.
That's where I'm hoping. But I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we all hope that our members of Congress will do the right thing, and oftentimes
And
they
a lot of
don't.
times they only do the right thing because we shine a giant light on what they're doing wrong. Let's take this dam down in New Albany. Light shining on it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you go back to your cool college senior things. Hopefully we can do this again in 2 weeks.
100%.
And tomorrow, public health show. Sometime next week, I'm meeting with Jesse Brown, and then I'll have other shows too. Please share, please like, please review all the Project Next stuff. We are an independent media company. We need your help. It is hard when you do not pump out fear, hate, and division to become a reputable media company because the algorithm promotes division.
Yep.
So my friends that have 100,000 followers on their platforms are making extremely divisive content because that sells. Whereas we're just like, hey, we should love all. That doesn't sell.
Okay.
So I need a little bit of your all's help to pump it out. So I just appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher. You're wonderful.
For
I
you.
wish you were closer. I hope you come and visit soon since
Yes.
you have family over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We
I gotta,
almost
I
crossed
gotta
paths
see
in
Cass,
Maine.
man.
We have like a Venn diagram where we almost match up in Maine, which is funny now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Have a great couple weeks. Good luck in your classes. Hey, no
Thank.
bomb threats, right?
No bomb threats this week. We're all safe, all good. After fall break, I think things died down. So
We got the No
we're all
Kings on Saturday, and your side seems to be pumping out how violent it's going to be, whereas my side is like, make sure you're not violent, make sure you're not violent. So
Yeah,
we could talk
exactly. And
about that maybe
I think,
next
and a
time.
lot of my side, I haven't even seen a lot of it from my side because I think a lot of people on my side are just like, whatever, it's another Democrat protest. We see them all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
it's the whole protest thing is interesting because I get asked to speak at it and I'm like, does it help? I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
does it
conflicted.
really?
It's a
It's
whole
very
like,
it's very hard because once you're there, and like we talked about, like the bad actors, like just because you're there and one person does something against the movement, then you're going to be grouped in with that entire thing.
and I'm like going to them and speaking and calling for unity and division, and I'm actively told I'm wrong. And they're peaceful. It's always very peaceful where I'm at. But the
It's
things
good,
that are
yeah.
coming out of their mouths, I'm like, it's so
Not super
divisive.
nice. Exactly.
Yeah. Life. Okay, you guys, talk to someone from your other side in the next 2 weeks. That is a definite giant goal. Talk to someone else that voted differently than you. Talk compassionately. Find something where you agree on.
Yep.
It will be good for your mental health. That's why this is a mental fitness show, right? Me and
Yes.
you,
And
our mental
I
health is
think,
better because we are friends.
and one of my biggest pieces of advice for people is when engaging in those conversations, don't go into it and tell the person that you're a Republican or a Democrat. Just start talking about what you believe in,
Oh,
and
that's
then
how I do. Yeah. As a
exactly, and then
person
you're going to
running for
realize
state house, I don't come out and say, I'm a Democrat. Do you believe what
exactly.
I believe? I say, do you know our public education is being defunded? Do you know your kid, your grandkid's school? Do you know how much money has been taken out and given to schools in like Indianapolis, not even from here? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, because of what's happening. So it's like, talk about the issues,
Yep.
do it that way. Yeah. And that's how you and I met.
Exactly. Literally.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you,
Bye, you
Sarah.
guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.